I'm Melina, and I'm here today with Liam Naden to talk about marriages, relationships, their problems and their solutions. Hello Liam.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you.
Great.
Liam is a marriage and relationships coach and best-selling author of more than 20 books and 3 highly acclaimed marriage and relationships programs. He is the founder and director of Growing in Love for Life, an organisation dedicated to helping couples overcome their problems in their marriages and achieve their highest happiness and potential through a deep and passionate relationship. 2 failed marriages, which cost him everything he had, including friends, businesses and his assets, which drove him to the edge of bankruptcy, inspired Liam to realise that nothing has more of an impact on a person's quality of life and their happiness than the quality of their intimate relationship. He went on a quest to discover what truly separates a great relationship from the vast majority and how I can create a wonderful, fulfilling relationship no matter what happened in the past. In addition to using and applying the answers to these questions to create his own deeply satisfying and loving relationship, he has gone on to share the information with others through his books, podcasts, programs and workshops. He now helps couples and individuals around the world to overcome whatever is stopping them from truly creating the relationship they want and deserve to have.
Thank you.
In my introduction, Liam, I stated that you have 2 failed marriages that cost you everything you had, and that is what led you to doing what you're doing now. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah. Okay, well thank you for that. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, well, I guess the thing I discovered in my life was that at one point a few years ago, I found myself in a very interesting and unique situation. After having what I thought was a pretty successful and happy life, all of a sudden I found myself sleeping on my mother's couch in her living room with absolutely nothing. I had lost all my assets, I'd lost all my friends, I'd lost all my income. I had nothing. And I was in court with 2 ex-wives at the same time. And it was an awakening moment for me. I remember thinking, what have I done wrong? What's really gone wrong in my life? Because before that, I had some successful businesses, I had a great lifestyle, I thought I had great marriages, not at the same time, obviously. I thought everything was going really well, and my whole world caved in, and I lost everything. And so I asked that question, why is this happening to me? It's not like I'm a dishonest person, I've not tried to be unkind to people. Why has all this come crashing down my head? And what I realised, I got the answer to that question, and the answer to that question was, I'd managed to master or do really well at every other aspect of my life, but I'd never really understood what made a good relationship. And I realised also that it was the quality of my relationship that determined the quality of my life. And that was the reason I'd lost everything, because I'd lost my relationships. So that's why I went on this quest, and I thought if I can figure out, or what I realised is how fundamentally important your marriage or your relationship is to the quality of your life. And I think if people really think about it, they know that's true. If you're not happy in your marriage, it doesn't matter what else is going on in your life, how well everything else is going. If you're not happy and things aren't doing well, you're not going to be happy. And if things are going well in your marriage, that allows you to be so much more creative and inspired and really live a great life. So your life and your marriage are so intertwined. It's such a critical component. So that's what I did. And I figured I need to learn about this relationship stuff and how it really works. And I started off by studying, if you like, people who were in great relationships. And I thought, where do you want to go if you want success? You go to people who are doing it well. So I started to look at and study, and what I discovered was patterns. And people in great relationships are doing and thinking things in a completely different way to the rest of people in relationships. And the majority of relationships, sadly, relationships and marriages aren't that happy, and it's because people aren't doing what the small percentage of people in happy marriages, what they're doing. So I started to replicate this. I started to build it into systems and ideas, and I've always worked with personal development, self-improvement, and done a lot of work in those areas, and I started to apply these ideas to marriage and relationships, apply the principles that actually worked. And once I started to do that, my life turned around completely, and then I realised I could start helping other people with these ideas, and I started to, once I shared these ideas, see the major impact it had on helping other people in their lives. So that's where I am, and that's why I'm so excited by what I do, because I see the transformations that people get, and it comes from transforming themselves and understanding through knowledge and information what a great relationship is and what they've been doing wrong, if you like, both in their own self and in their relationship, and how to turn it around by starting to do the right things.
So what do you think are the biggest problems married couples are facing today?
The biggest problems? Well, it's a little bit, excuse me, a little bit like what I just said. The biggest problem people have is they don't understand what a relationship is, and they don't understand how it's put together. You know, we go to school and we learn a few biological things about relationships, and how that works, but we don't understand how relationships fundamentally are put together, what the structure of them is. So if we get into a relationship and it's good, that's fine. But if things start to go off the rails, we don't know how to handle it. We don't know how to deal with it. We don't know how to put things back on track, because we don't know what makes a good relationship to start with. So that really is the fundamental problem that couples have. It's not about lack of communication. It's not about lack of intimacy. It's not about, those are all the problems that come about from the one problem, which is I don't understand how to make a good relationship. And I don't understand how a good relationship works. And sometimes people think they do, but that's fine and good until things go wrong. And then they don't know how to get things back on track, and they realise actually they don't know a lot about relationships.
So you've created these 3 coaching programs. Why have you created programs, and how are they different from, say, like counselling?
Okay, well, that's a really good question. Thank you. Yeah, the reason I put together these coaching programs, when you think about counselling, there's a very big difference between a coach and a counsellor, I think. A counsellor, somebody you go along to and you sit there for an hour or however long it is, and you talk about the issues, and you try to come out of that session with some solutions to the problems you've walked in with. But the problem with that is, well, I found it when in the numerous coaching or counselling sessions I've been to in previous relationships, is the problem with that, you don't take away, I didn't take away a lot from that session, because you're there sitting with a person, listening to them, you're talking, and even if you're taking lots of notes, you don't get to really remember it properly and internalise it. But what does a coach do? A coach works with you and keeps you accountable and keeps reminding you of certain principles and certain ways of doing things. So my programs are really coaching programs where people, instead of just going into a session and listening once and coming out and saying, oh, can't quite remember all that, I better go to another 20 of those. Instead of that, they get to listen to the information which I put in the program, the coaching. They can listen to it as many times as they like. So for instance, if there's one lesson or one segment and they don't quite understand it, you can stop the audio, you can stop listening, and you can go back and you can repeat it until you really understand it. And that's why it's so much more effective than counselling, and why it actually takes a lot less time for people to get the right information and to make the changes that are really going to make the changes in their own relationship and their marriage through these programs. People play them in their car, you can listen to them on your own or with your spouse if that's possible. Oftentimes it's not, but you can really get the information in a much deeper way through the repetition. in the programs. So that's why I've
I
created
guess you
them.
also hear different things on
That's a really good
different
point.
times
Yeah,
you
you do. You know, you listen to something 2 or 3 times, and you're hearing different things each time, and
because
it's
you're
making
learning.
yeah, you're learning. It's making more sense.
Mm.
Yeah, exactly. So it is a really powerful format that I've found. Certainly works for me, and when I've tried to learn things, to be able to repeat things, you get different understandings. Yeah, so I'm very proud of those programs as a way of helping people really make the changes that they need to make.
I've got some questions from people from around the world, and I would like to ask them to you.
Okay.
So I've got this one here. I've found out my wife is having an affair. What do I do?
Found out my wife is having an affair. What do I do? Okay, well, thanks for starting with an easy one. No, and actually, if you're watching this, you might be interested. I have a podcast, many free episodes of podcasts, and I actually go into, that's one of the questions I answer in one of my podcasts. But if you're faced with a situation like this, did you say it's a lady whose husband's having an affair? The other way?
The other way around.
Okay. So if your husband or wife is having an affair, and you want to know what to do, well, the first thing is obviously not to panic. But I think a question to ask yourself is, why are they having an affair? Because very often people start the blame game, and they say to their husband or wife, when they find out, their automatic reaction is, they shouldn't be having an affair. They should be loyal to our marriage. They should be loyal to me. But the problem with that is they're not, are they? They're seeing things in a completely different way. And one of the fundamental things you need to realise is that if you want to change someone else's behaviour towards you, you have to change your behaviour to act in a way that they want to act in a certain way towards you. To put that a slightly different way, the reason, or one of the reasons your husband or wife is having an affair, the main reason, let's be honest, they're not happy. Whatever they're getting out of their marriage with you is not enough. So you need to figure out, what am I not giving them? And I don't mean giving them in a sort of a slavery servant type of way, but what are they not getting in their relationship? What is it about me that doesn't make them fulfilled emotionally? So when you realise that, you realise that to go to your husband or wife when you find out that they're having an affair and start telling them what they should do and being all upset and blaming them and criticising them and telling them they should stop and that what they should do, all of those things are not giving them what they want, are they? Who wants to be bombarded by somebody, nagging them, being all upset? You know, that sort of behaviour is what drives people to an affair in the first place, isn't it? Why do people have an affair? Because it's fun. It's something different. It's light and easy. In other words, it's often, let's be honest here, things they're not getting in their marriage. So just really think about that. I mean, I do have a podcast episode, and of course in my programs I go into a lot more detail about how to change your behaviour so that your husband or wife actually wants to be with you rather than someone else. But really think about that. What am I projecting to them that has made them want to not be with me exclusively? And what should I therefore not do to push them further away from me? Good thing to think about.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's the short answer. Okay.
I have another one.
Okay.
My marriage is in trouble, and I'm trying to get my husband to see a counsellor with me. He won't go, so how do I change his mind?
Okay, if you want somebody else to do something that you think they should do, and even if it's something that you think would benefit them, and they're not doing it, what you need to realise is they have a reason why they don't want to do it. In other words, in this particular case, the husband who doesn't want to go to counselling, he sees it as more painful to go to counselling than pleasurable. You know, people are motivated by pain and pleasure. That's what drives all humans. And usually we want to get away from pain more than we do want to get towards pleasure. But if you look, again, you've got, as I mentioned with the last person, if you want to change someone's behaviour, you've really got to start looking at things from their point of view and say they're doing what they want to do and what they feel is best. but I don't feel it's best. So how can I get them to see something differently? Or really another way of putting it, how can I get it so that counselling in this case would actually be appealing to them? So what's the benefit for them? Because, the thing about counselling, and, we have this expression, work on your marriage. You have to work on your marriage. Well, I don't know about you, but I think most people in the world, the word work is something they associate pain with. They don't want to work. Who wants to work on anything? But if you knew that working or developing your relationship was actually going to be really a lot of fun, and you were going to end up in a much more pleasurable place, and it wasn't going to be painful, it wasn't going to be hard work, wouldn't you be a lot more motivated to do that? So when it comes to counselling, instead of presenting counselling as something to go along and we're going to talk about our problems and we're going to work on our marriage and we're going to do all these things, why not reframe it to your husband and say, maybe counselling would help us not to just focus on sorting out our problems, but to see how we can get on better together and to identify the good things we enjoy doing. And we could just try it once, and if it doesn't work, but I don't want to go to counselling to work on our problems. I just want to go there to rediscover the great relationship we used to have, the great marriage we used to have, and make it sound light and fun. And of course, don't get all deep and heavy with them if they won't go. Just say, okay, that's fine. And then you go to work on you being a more fun person so that they could see that maybe there would be some benefit in developing that side of your relationship even more. And that's where you could do some counselling. So present it in a positive way. Think about, they only want to do something that's positive because you associate going to counselling with something positive, don't you? Because you think it means it'll solve your problems and things will be better. But that's not the way they think. They think it's hard work, it's focusing on problems, it's listening to my wife moaning and complaining about me and being all upset and wanting me to express my feelings. So I think you get what I'm saying here. Yeah. I've said it a few different ways, but that's the short answer as well. Okay.
Thank you.
Any more?
Yes, I have another hard one.
Oh, good.
I was unfaithful to my wife 5 years ago when I had a very brief affair. I am truly sorry and have told my wife this many times, but she won't let go of being hurt and won't forgive me. She still mentions it and gets very upset. How do I get her to get over it?
Right, well, 5 years, it's quite a long time to be hanging on to hurt, isn't it? And I actually have a different view on what hurt is to a lot of people, and actually one of my coaching programs is a 30-day program, and the whole of the first module is about overcoming hurt. But I actually look at it in quite a different way. What is hurt? The reality is, whatever feelings you feel are your responsibility. Now, that's a big responsibility to take on, that belief, but it is actually true. So the reality is, your wife's hurt is something that she's responsible for. I mean, the reality is everybody makes mistakes. You made a mistake 5 years ago. Well, I mean, how long's long enough, really? I mean, people make mistakes all the time. So I don't think is really the issue. The issue is, what's going on in your wife's mind for her to hang on to the hurt? Because she is responsible, not you, for her feelings. I mean, you're responsible for your feelings, of course. So in knowing that, I think that there are two things. Firstly is to identify why she's hanging on to the hurt. And I think being really honest about it, what people tend to do is they use it as a sort of a power control thing. And it's like, I'm really hurt with you and I don't think I could ever forgive you, and you're going to have to do a lot and you're going to have to change a lot, but I don't know even then whether I could forgive you, but maybe I one day will. And what they're saying to you really is, I'm in control of you, and it makes me feel good to have some power over you, because it means I don't have to face my issues, and it's actually quite comforting to have someone know that they will do whatever you want them to do and feel whatever you want them to feel. Because in this situation, you're hanging on there, hoping she'll forgive you, and you're pretty much firstly doing anything that she'll say, in the hope that she will forgive you. And secondly, you're looking out for every sign and signal that she either is or she isn't. So you're on this sort of roller coaster, and you're going to stay on the roller coaster when she's driving it. So that's the first thing. But the second thing is, how do you get her to take responsibility for her feelings? Well, really, the key to it is you have to take responsibility for your feelings. So what I suggest you would do in this situation, and it's for other people if you're dealing with somebody who's finding it difficult to get over hurt, is to talk to them and say, look, this, I understand you're hurt, but the past is the past. And really being honest about it, I want to be in control, and I know that I'm responsible for my feelings, and I think you need to take responsibility for your feelings. Because we need to move on from this. Now, if the other person is all, oh, you shouldn't talk to me like that, or whatever, or doesn't like you saying that, that's fine. Don't stay and have an argument about it, but go to work on you being responsible for your feelings. And what's the first thing that you can do there? Not allow them to take control of your feelings. So in other words, if they start getting upset, or if they start trying to make you feel bad, just refuse to buy it and just say, walk away from the situation and just focus on developing yourself as a positive person who doesn't allow anybody else to make you feel bad. And I think if you work on that one, and then they'll start to see that, hey, this game that they're playing, and I'm sorry to use the word game, and I'm sorry if I'm sounding a little bit uncaring, I'm not at all, I'm just trying to be realistic about it, but if they're playing this little game of trying to control you, you're not going to play that game anymore, and you're going to show them in your loving and in your unconditionally loving way that that's not the game that anybody wins in their life. That when you start playing the game, I'm responsible for my feelings, I'm really not going to let anybody else affect how I feel. I mean, it's easier said than done, and we none of us ever master this, but it doesn't mean we can't improve and go along that track and know that that's the right path to go. But when you start to do that, and you start to therefore, instead of allowing them to feel bad, or them allowing you to feel bad, instead of allowing that to happen, you're a much more of a likeable person, you're a much more in control person, a happy, strong person that they want to be around, and they know that game's not working anymore, so they might as well give up playing it, get over the hurt, and get back to enjoying life by being in control of their feelings. So, again, I think I cover this in one of my podcasts, if you want to listen to that for a bit more detail, but that's basically the name of the game on that one.
Right.
Okay.
I think that's it for today. Thank you very much for your time today. And if people want more information, where can they find out about you? Okay. Well, thank you very much. Some really interesting questions, and I hope you've got some value out of my answers. But if you'd like to learn more, my website, liamnaden.com, I've got podcasts, videos, of course my 3 coaching programs if you really want some personal help from me. To really get things on track with your marriage, and they don't have to just be, your marriage doesn't have to be a disaster for it to improve, but you'll find my programs there, and one of them I have actually is about blended families, people with stepchildren, which is another story, but it's a big problem that people have in that situation, so I've created a whole program to help people get rid of that, all of those horrible conflicts that are unnecessary really once you understand what's really going on and how you can change it in a blended family. So yeah, it's all on my website, liamnaden.com. So thank you very much for the opportunity to talk. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you. Sure did.
Thank you.